was that silent night when the stars turned their gaze to marvel at the earth, when the heavens gathered breathless round a lowly stable, when a young mother wept tears of worship, falling on the baby in her arms, and the song of the earth arose in Bethlehem, soft as the tender beating of his heart. And all was calm, all was bright. Yet could this be the same God of Abraham, the conqueror of Israel? This baby, this fragile life? Is this child the one who burned his name in rapture across the gasping skies? Whose voice spoke the oceans into crashing rhythms? Who crafted the mountains into guardians of the firmament? Whose hand ignited the thirst of the deserts and the warring surge of the elemental hosts? Who breathed life from dust, broke the oppressor's rule, scattered the chains of his people like sand, and led them through the wilderness with a pillar of flame? Is this child the one whose presence billowed thunderous on Sinai's peak? Who surrounded Job with the roaring wind, stood defiant in the raging furnace, wrote judgment against tyrants, and blazed on the lips of the prophets, scorching history's pages with the fury of his might? Could this be the same God who chose to come as the vulnerable king, setting his throne on straw and manger, drawing forth the tears of shepherds, receiving the gifts of wandering travelers, his fame unknown in this world? He is Jesus, the one who thunders through the heavens, yet whispers to our hearts, who reigns victorious, yet bows to serve the broken. He is God in the fury, God in the silence. He holds this mystery balanced in his hands, holds our questions till they lose their need, until all we see is him.
Hey everyone, welcome to Central in our Christmas experience. If you're watching online, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us today. Why don't we all stand and sing some songs together? Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare in room in heaven and nature sing. And heaven and
and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we with all our hearts. We praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise his name forever. His power and
So tonight, as we've sung these beautiful songs on this Christmas Eve, we're reminded of the story as we read it in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. And here's what it says. It says, "This is how the birth of Jesus Christ took place, that his mother Mary was engaged to Joseph, but before they were married, she found out that she was going to have a baby by the Holy Spirit. Joseph was a man who always did what was right, but he did not want to disgrace Mary publicly, so he made plans to break the engagement privately. While he was thinking about this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, 'Joseph, descendant of David, do not be afraid to take Mary to be your wife, for it is by the Holy Spirit that she has conceived. She will have a son, and you will name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins.' Now all of this happened in order to make come true what the Lord had said through the prophet, that a virgin will become pregnant and have a son, and he will be called Emmanuel, which means God is with us."
Jesus, thank you for this season that brings joy, that radiates, it seems like, across the world. And then at some times, and in some of our hearts and lives, we don't feel that silence or that peace. So God, we ask that we would sense that tonight, that we would know that peace tonight, the peace that only comes from you. It's beyond our understanding, God, but we can know that silence or that peace because you give it to us freely. So we thank you, God. And in his name we say, amen. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks for singing with us so beautifully. Why don't you go ahead and grab a seat as we continue?
Isn't it absolutely amazing how we can just kind of gather together and sing together? It's actually one of my favorite pastimes, just gathering together around the fireplace, singing with my family, just reminiscing of the past year. It's honestly such a great time of the year.
Or sitting around at home doing nothing, watching Elf. That's cool too. Yeah, yes.
Thanks for just ruining the moment, Johnny. Really appreciate that. No, anyways, my name is Gianpaolo.
And I am Gianni.
Whoa, never heard you say it that way.
Johnny. This
Johnny?
night is it's full of G's. We got Gianpaolo and Johnny and gifts.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Guests. Yeah, guests are there.
Giving.
Giving, true.
And then announcements.
Gossip.
Gossip.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we got gifts.
Yeah, what is Christmas without giving away some gifts?
What's Christmas without spending money you don't have on things that people don't need? Yeah.
Okay, first of all, Johnny, I have chosen these gifts based on what they need, what they want, and what they need. It is that
what they need, what they want, and what they need. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, watch the reaction as I pull out the first gift.
Oh, yeah.
Hello! Look at that.
Some of you are chocolate deprived. You're like, wow!
Beautiful.
I want! Oh, those are good. Where are those made again?
Thorold, yes.
Yes.
Lindor chocolates, right from Thorold, Ontario.
Artisanally made in the metropolis of Thorold, Ontario.
No, in the mountains of Thorold. That's
yes,
right.
the mountainous ranges of Thorold.
No,
I think they're Swiss chocolates. They're like Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland, yeah.
So,
what if we gave this away to somebody who's traveled from Switzerland?
Anybody here who traveled in from Switzerland for Christmas?
Are you kidding? Oh, you are kidding. Wait, you're not kidding? Oh, you are kidding.
Well,
all right, next closest, Fort Erie. Fort Erie, anyone? No, just kidding.
Who's traveled in for Christmas? Anybody traveled in for Christmas? You're just visiting family?
From where? Whereabouts?
Ottawa.
Ottawa, pretty close.
What do we got?
Ottawa,
New Brunswick. That's the first. We got New Brunswick. We go a little further than New Brunswick. Where?
Japan?
Japan?
Where?
What? She's visiting from, yes, that's a winner.
That is it.
There you go.
Farther than Japan. Nope.
Japan. I don't.
Wow.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Geographically, I don't think you can get further away. That's like, there would be no other winners.
True.
Perfect. Awesome.
You'd be coming back.
Yeah, you'd be coming back. You'd be a little closer if you were further.
All right, next we got something for the kids.
Yeah.
That's right. Look at that.
Some Smarties and a Santa container for kids. What do kids like or do?
What's that dance that Bill does?
Silent no. Yes. Okay. Let's see your floss.
Right,
let's see what you got.
Any
let's
kids
go.
see your
Stand up.
floss?
Just stand up in your seat. Let's see.
See your floss.
The best.
Let's get one up and
Oh, this kid is going ham.
That's
He's
awesome.
like, ah! Let's give it to him right there.
Good.
Yeah, right there in the aisle. You girls are great too. Yes. Wow.
All right, now all the adults. No, just kidding.
Let's see what you got.
Broken hips. No, just kidding. Okay, now this next one is my personal favorite. My dad came over the other day and gave me a gift. Now, as part of the Italian tradition, it's really when you go visit somebody at Christmas, you give them a gift, and then you take that gift and you re-gift it to somebody else. And so this is a re-gift from my dad. It's a panettone.
Wait.
Yes,
is that gross Italian bread cake stuff?
Johnny, what is wrong with you? You do not appreciate the 12 weeks that this takes and the dried Italian fruit from the fruit trees of Italy, that hand-dried fruit that's placed in these things.
The hand-dried fruit, yes. There's a picture like an Italian man just sitting there being like, don't touch me, I'm drying my fruit. It's hand-dried.
This obviously is going to go to somebody who's not like Johnny and who appreciates a panettone. Yeah.
Any Italians in the house?
Yeah, any Italians in the house.
Any Italians in the house?
They're usually the loudest. All right,
we got a whoop from in there.
Come on over.
Yeah, we give it to the whoopers.
The whoopers. Whoop, whoop, whoopers, whoop, whoop. Now you got to appreciate that. Now make sure they're Italian. Just ask them something in Italian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, just great.
You can speak Italian. Ask them.
Siete italiano. Hey, grazie. Okay, yeah, they don't need to see anything. I just do their hands like this.
I trust you. I trust you know Italian, but it didn't sound like words. You're just like,
All right, okay, this is
the next one.
Yeah,
okay, so you got that one.
Yeah, okay. Good.
So John Paul's got a gift and I got a gift. John Paul's gift will go to somebody who doesn't really understand the value of a dollar, or somebody who appreciates outward appearances over quality.
Whoa, what are you talking about? Okay, fine then. Your gift goes to somebody who's really boring, who doesn't like adventure. Then we'll say that.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Who wants a Tim Hortons gift card?
Who wants a Starbucks gift card?
Tim Hortons gift card. All right. She shot up like a dart right there. There you go. Give it to her. She was like...
Enjoy your swamp water, lady. Yeah, enjoy.
All right. That guy's waving a twirl in a hat. We should give it to him.
Find someone with a fedora and cool glasses. Yeah,
there
that's
you
great.
go. See, the cool thing about mine is you can get like 10 drinks with that, whereas John Paul's you can get like 1.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. But you don't even need to like coffee to like mine.
That's true. You just get
I'll
something
get sugar in a cup, please, with whip. Thank you. That's awesome.
All right, that's
anyway,
gifts.
That's gifts. Yeah.
What do we got?
Guests.
Yeah. If you are a guest here tonight, we are so excited that you've joined our family this evening. We genuinely hope that you feel that you are being welcomed home this evening. And we actually want to give you a gift. This is a simple thank you for coming. How you receive that gift is take the connection card, which you can find in the back of the seat in front of you. Fill out some info on there just as you feel comfortable. Then after this experience, you can exchange that card at Central Connect. It's the big blue wall out in the lobby, and we'd love to connect with you and give you a gift this evening. Thank you so much for being here with us. And if you're watching online, we love that you're here from wherever you are in the world. Make sure you log on, interact with our online pastor and our online community, and we'd love to connect with you and give you a gift as well tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and for giving, tonight is the last time you can give in person for 2018. Again, if you're a guest, please feel no obligation. But if you did come ready to give, there's a few ways you can do that this evening, found on the screen behind me, or you can drop it off in one of the 4 boxes found at the back of the auditorium. You can also give next week, but that's only online, so you'll hear more about that in just a moment.
So giving and then gossip.
Yeah.
All that need to know for the end of the year into 2019. On December 30th, we do not have an experience here in the building. It is an online-only experience. We're going to see a highlight reel from what happened this past year, and Bill's going to share a message that's going to carry us into the new year, so stay at home with your family for that.
Yeah, I actually love that experience. It's one of my favorite of the year. We gather as a family. We don't have to feel rushed to come here. We just love it. We sit down, we watch it on TV. It's just reminiscing about the year. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, it sounds like you do a lot to get ready for that. I'm just like laying in my jam jams, drinking a cup of cocoa, watching it online.
Jam jams?
Yeah, jam jams. It's like you have your pajamas, but then when you're really cozy, you call them your jam jams. You know?
Too much, man.
Not you? Okay,
No,
that's just
too
me,
much.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, oh yeah. And then speaking of Jam Jams, we got
speaking of Jam Jams, the other announcement we have.
January 6th, we have a brand new series, not called Jam Jams. It is called Mastermind. And the idea with it is that wherever your thoughts go, that's where your life goes. And so if you don't like really where the place you're at, I encourage you, come on out January 6th for our brand new series called Mastermind.
Also in January, at the end of January, January 27th, we have a brand new 8-week film and discussion series called Alpha. Now, it's designed for people to enter into this conversation about faith and start asking some of the bigger questions that life has to offer. I actually had the opportunity to go to London a couple months ago and visit where they started Alpha, and it's just incredible. These people are just committed to creating safe, comfortable spaces for people to engage these difficult questions and start to unpack and come with all their doubts and stuff. And so it's really awesome. So if that's you and you want to ask those questions, you want to maybe figure out, is God real? Join us at Alpha starting January 27th during our 10:30 experience. It's 8 weeks of a film series with discussion to follow. Super great. You can sign up for that online, or you can go into the lobby, Big Blue Wall, Center Connect. We'd love to get you registered for that there.
Well, that's all for us, but we have plenty still to happen in our Christmas experience. Will you please now join me as we continue in our series called His Name Shall Be.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
Do you have a name you'd like to shed? You know, we all have nicknames, don't we, when we're growing up? I think it's a term of endearment or affection, and so we have 3 kids. So my oldest is named Reed, and when he was really little, he would run around everywhere, and so we just called him Speedster, and then we called him Reedster the Speedster. That was kind of his nickname, and then we had our daughter Tessa, and I've just always called her Tessie, or Princess. I know that's lame, sorry, but that's just what I did. And then our youngest, Garrett, for whatever reason, we've always called him Gare Bear. So we have these nicknames, and you've probably had one, and I had one too. My name growing up was Billy. And there's nothing wrong with that name. Again, in my family line, there's lots of Bills and Williams, and so I was identified as Billy. And my mom loves telling the story. I was about 12 years old. I came and I made an announcement. And this was the announcement: no longer shall I be called Billy. From now on, I will just be Bill. Because again, Billy was like, in my mind, a child's name. And I didn't want to be associated with that any longer. I wanted to get rid of that nickname. And so we have these nicknames that stick to us. And most of them are affection, I suppose. That's the first thing we think of. But there's a lot of names that we're given that we don't want. And some of them are explicit, like when I was in school, many of you who know my story know that I had a teacher in grade 4 who actually called me stupid. She didn't imply it, she said it. Billy, you're stupid. Now, what's interesting about this name is that I actually believed her. I went from a straight A student to barely passing. As a matter of fact, I struggled all the way through school and barely made it out of high school. If it wasn't for sports, I don't think I would have made it because names stick. Sometimes they're explicit, sometimes they're implied. Many of you know maybe too that I grew up in Thailand. And so when we moved back to Canada, it was actually a huge culture shock for me because I didn't know any of the cultural references. I didn't know the popular bands. I didn't know any of the athletes because in Thailand, we didn't get that stuff. I especially didn't know fashion at all, like literally, because in Thailand, it doesn't matter what you wear. You don't get judged for what you wear, but here it's a totally different thing. And so I remember trying to navigate through junior high and feeling always like I was on the outside. Like I had nothing to contribute to conversations, that I didn't really understand a lot of the inside jokes that were happening. And so I found myself a lot on the outside looking in. And so I adopted the name Misfit. And then I got to high school, and I don't know if you remember the first moments you recognize someone that you liked more than a friend. You know that kind of feeling. You have this rush of emotion and adrenaline. You're sweating. You don't know why. And so I just assumed that it worked like it did in the movies, right? You go to that person, you say, "I love you." They love you. You went right off into the sunset. But the girl that I loved, or use that word, liked, did not like me at all in return. And so I remember feeling rejected. Actually, it's interesting, even to this day, I really struggle when people don't like me. Call me a people pleaser if you want. I just have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with rejection. And then I graduated from high school, and I was in that stage of life where you try to decide, what are you going to do with your life? And I decided I wanted to do what I'm doing tonight. I decided that there'd be nothing greater in my mind than being able to inspire people with possibility, that to tell people that they were created for something greater, that they could believe in something more, to hopefully transform their life. I couldn't think of a better job. And so I began my pursuit, and I wish I could tell you that church people are always nice. They're not. As a matter of fact, sometimes church people are some of the meanest people you'll find on the planet. And so I got into a church situation where it was tough. I was criticized all the time. Everything, I was just new. I was just trying to figure it out. And I can remember being hauled in front of boards and in front of meetings with my leader and just being berated for stuff I didn't even think was a problem, like what I was wearing on the stage. And so I remember I actually almost quit because the name I adopted was Failure. I have to admit that sometimes I work too hard because I don't want to keep this name. There's a name that I also have carried all of my life, and it's probably connected to all the others because the truth is that these names that we are given, the names that we adopt, the names that sometimes we're forced to wear, compound on each other, don't they? And so to this day, I often feel misunderstood. You know when you meet somebody and your first impression isn't always the best, right? You have an idea of what they're like, and then you actually talk to them, and you find out their story, and you go, oh, it makes sense. I'll be honest that for most of my life, I have felt misunderstood. And these are just some of the names that I wear. But I know that you wear names too. And the interesting thing about these is they're not on the surface. You've learned to hide and mask them really well, right? Because you can deal with a lot of stuff on the outside. You get a cut, you're going to heal from a cut. You get a bad haircut, your hair grows back. Well, not in my case, but mostly grows back. But words and names and titles go to the very deepest part of us, don't they? They speak to our identity, who we are, and why we exist. It's why they're so painful. I was studying hurricanes this week. Maybe that's why I'm misunderstood. I was studying hurricanes this week, and hurricanes and typhoons share something in common. And the way they start is that two air pressure fronts are in conflict. So a cold front will come in, and then there's the hot air from the surface of the ocean in the case of a hurricane, and from the land in the case of a typhoon. And what happens is the pressure of the cold air system is too great, and the hot air can't escape. And so it begins to just swirl in circles, and it causes incredible destruction. And I got thinking about how that's true of us as well. That we live in a culture of incredible pressure. A culture that's constantly trying to tell you who you are, trying to identify you, label you. And the truth is, we don't like those titles. And so it causes a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. Questions like, who am I and why am I here? And we think that if we could just change the external circumstances, right? Like if we just maybe got a new government, or if we got a better economic system, or we joined a new religion, if we just changed the outside of us, got a better job, whatever it is, that we could change this. But that's like trying to stop a hurricane with your bare hands. The pressure is too great. So thank you, Hallmark, and your perfect family pictures. Thank you that I'm not that. By the way, you know that they're all paid, right, to smile that way. They're not even related. So it's just a sham, right? Or thanks a lot, right? Instagram and all of you who've gone on tropical holidays this winter. Can you just keep your pictures to yourself, please? Like, I'm glad you're having a good time, but we don't need to know, because we're here freezing our noses off. And so just thank you for that, or Amazon.ca, thank you for all the plethora, millions of things I want to own, but I can't, right? Everywhere we turn, there's this pressure to be something, to be somebody, right? You're told, young people, make a difference in the world, change the world, be a leader. And you're like, I'm just having a hard time brushing my teeth right now. And so what do you do with that? What do you do when your identity has been eroded, when the chaos and confusion around you is so great and you're trying to stop it, but you don't know how? That's the question that a man by the name of Isaiah, hundreds of years before Jesus was born, addressed. He wrote to a group of people who were slaves in a foreign land. And they found themselves going through the same routine every day, getting up and getting dressed and driving on the QEW to their taskmaster just to get back and forth, and along the journey going, why am I here? What's going on? And he writes to them with a promise that the solution wasn't going to be what they thought. They thought, if we just get freedom, if we just got all the external world right, it's going to be okay. And actually the answer came, the problem isn't outside of you, it's inside of you. For true peace is when you are secure in who you are and why you're here. That's true peace. Many call it inner peace. And so he said, someone's going to come and they're going to model this for you. They're going to address this issue. They're going to help you find that place of peace and security inside of you. And so the prophet Isaiah in his book in chapter 9, verse 6 says, for unto us a child is born, for unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders. That's poetic language to describe the fact that he's not going to change the external circumstance, because that isn't the situation, that isn't the issue. It's your heart. And he'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. For the next few moments, I just want to unpack this title, Prince of Peace, because in it is found the secret. It's found the secret of finding peace in the midst of the storm. The first part of this title is Prince. And I mean, you probably think of Prince Harry or Prince William, and rightfully so. And when we think of a prince, Prince Charming, we think of someone who's second in command, someone young and attractive, and going to become the king one day, but isn't the king. But that isn't actually the word that's used in this context. You see, this wasn't written in English. And so this prophecy comes to us in Hebrew. And Hebrew, in the word prince, actually means one who brings order, a chief, a leader. Prince was used in all kinds of contexts in the ancient world to describe a general or a master architect, anyone who is leading other people to a place of order. And here's what I've learned about peace. It requires order. It's counterintuitive, but the very thing you actually need in your life is some sense of order, some orientation into what is true and what is not. Think about it this way. If you're a morning person like me, you love a sunrise. And if you're a night person like my wife, you love a sunset. In either case, there's something beautiful about standing, either looking at the mountains or on the waterfront and watching the sunrise or the sunset. Why? Because it's the way it's supposed to be. There's laws in nature, and when you get to experience it, it's beautiful, it's powerful, all is right. Or have you ever heard the rustling of the wind through the trees, or seeing geese migrating? There's something beautiful about it. There's an order, a structure to it. It's the way it's supposed to be. Or if you've ever seen a baby sleeping, there's nothing more peaceful. As you watch their chest expand, as they breathe in and out, it's the way it's supposed to be. So is your life the way it's supposed to be? And if not, that's why there's no peace. You say, well, how do I know what it's supposed to be? Well, the cool thing is that there's an opportunity to be oriented to this. If you have a phone of any kind, and if you've ever used it to find directions, like you use Google Maps or something like that, you know how this works. Inside your phone is a gyroscope. It orients so that the phone knows exactly which direction you're pointing. And then it's connected to a satellite, something higher than you, above you, that can see more than you, that will help you navigate to where you need to go. And I would like to propose that Jesus came into this world to reorient us, to remind us that there was a God who is above us, who sees all things, who loves us. He doesn't want to control us, but rather wants to liberate us. Didn't come to give us a set of rules to follow, but rather a path that would lead us to a life of meaning. And he orients us if we're willing to submit to order. And I know we hate that. And I'm with you, because we've seen authority abused. We've seen it in all kinds of spheres, unfortunately, even in the church. And so Jesus didn't come to reorient you to men's rules, but rather to a God of order, a God who created all things, who made you in his image. So are you at peace with your Creator? Because that's the way it's supposed to be. He's the Prince, but he's also the Prince of Peace. Now, again, we think of this word peace and we think of the cessation of strife, like a war has ended, or she didn't yell at me today, so that was peace. That was great. I'll take it. But that's not the word used here. The word used here is actually interesting. It's the word harmony. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I hate going to the shopping mall. Like, I hate it, and I don't have time to tell you all the reasons why I hate it, because it's a long list. But I'll just tell you one of the reasons. Because when you go to the mall, it seems to me like absolute pandemonium and chaos. Like, let's just take the music, for example. It's not bad enough that they play the same cheesy Christmas song over and over. No. Every store plays a different cheesy Christmas song, and as you walk by, you are confronted by cheese to the ears, right? It's horrific. And you got people yelling at you, trying to get you to buy stuff, people yelling at each other. It's noise. And the problem is that in the noise, you get lost. Think about it this way. Think of your life as a single note. Let's say a C. It's beautiful. It's rich. It's pleasant. It's not distracted by anything else. It's a singular note. But it's not a song, and it's not harmony. And for this reason, keyboards were designed because there are multiple notes, and each note has a part, but we learned that in a note there's a triad. In the case of a C, it's an E. And it adds a layer of richness and beauty. It's not meant to be a singular note. It's meant to be more than that. And then we discovered a fifth, the G, and we had the C chord. And it sounded harmonious. Now we have something to work with. We can create a music, a song, harmony. The problem is that when notes are not played properly, there's discord, and it sounds jarring. It's hard to listen to. It's what you hear when you turn on the news at night and watch the news. It's what you read on your social media feed in the comment sections. It's what you drive into work and hear around the water cooler. It's what you have around your kitchen table. It's chaos. It's not meant to be this way. So Jesus came into this world to remind us that we were meant to sound like this. This is the sound of heaven. And it's described in one word, love. Love. This is why when you were a baby and you cried, it wasn't just for your mother's milk. No. It was for her embrace. And when you tried so hard in sports, it's because you wanted your dad to say, I'm so proud of you. Good job. It's why you've worked so hard all your life to achieve, whether it's in the arts or in the sciences or in literature, because you want to stand out. You want to be acknowledged and recognized. It's why when you can't have those things, you join that group of people who drag you down, but at least you belong. It's why we get married. It's why we have children. It's why we celebrate Christmas. See, the truth is, all of your life, whether you knew it or not, you've been trying to get in tune. All of your life, you've been trying to hear the harmony of life. And you're frustrated because all you hear are clashing notes. And so Jesus came into this world to not only show us what love looks like, but to model it for us so we could hear the harmony of heaven again. And so as he walked down the streets, there would be people, lepers, who had been cast out of the city, who would walk down the streets yelling, unclean, unclean, because it was the law. You had to get out of my way so you didn't have to touch my open and festering wounds. But Jesus embraced the leper. There was a time when a woman had been caught doing something that was against the law, and so they were going to stone her to death. And he stepped in front of them and said, listen, which one of you hasn't made a mistake? We don't need judgment and condemnation. We need mercy and grace. This is the language and the sound of heaven. It's why he went to people's houses you weren't supposed to go to and talk to people you weren't supposed to talk to. Because that's what love does. Love understands that, yes, I was created a certain way to have order in my life, but I also have a purpose, and that purpose is to bring harmony everywhere I go. And the sound, for those of you who are listening, is love. And love isn't an idea. It's not a philosophy. It's a person born in a manger who would model what love truly looks like. And so I'd like to propose to you today that true peace is knowing who you're supposed to be. And maybe you're here and you don't know who you're supposed to be. Maybe you've been labeled all of your life. Maybe every time you look in the mirror, you see that label, that name, that brand, that scar, that tattoo. Every time you listen to people talk, you hear it around you. And so you're labeled, you're branded. You don't know who you're supposed to be. So Jesus stepped into this world and he said, here's who you are. You're my friend. I'm going to prove it to you, because no greater love has any man than that he laid down his life for his friends, and you are my friends if you follow me. And so he would lay his life down on a cross. He would die. This cute little baby that we love at Christmas is the same person who would grow up and be beaten, stripped naked, nailed to a tree in a garbage dump, and who would say, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know that this is a lie. They don't know that those names that have been given to them aren't theirs to carry. They don't know the power of the words that they use toward one another. Father, forgive them. And then he gave his life to bring order to the chaos. He didn't change the government. He didn't fix the economic crisis. He actually didn't even start a religion. He simply loved. And he said, if you want to know what it's like to be a part of the kingdom of heaven, it's to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And so today, we're going to do something at the risk of being cheesy. I've been misunderstood before, so fine. I want you to take the name tag that you brought in. Maybe you already wrote your name down on it. That's great. You can write over top of it. We're actually going to practice what Jesus came to speak clearly to us, that you are loved. Now I know there are some of you, you're going to have a hard time with this because you're going to say, you know, I don't know, you don't know what I've done. You don't know the mistakes I've made. You don't know how far I've fallen. To that I'd say God does, and he still loves you. You know, some of you are going to resist writing this. Just do it for me. You know, if I were to come into your house and give you a gift, it'd be rude not to accept it. So this is my gift. So I want you to do it. And maybe you're sitting next to somebody, their arms are folded, they're probably male, and they're like, I'm not having any part of this. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write it and you're going to stick it on them. No one's going to escape this truth. You can't escape it. You are loved. You are loved. And if there's anything you need to know this Christmas, it's simply this. And when I got a hold of this at the age of 17, it changed everything for me. Doesn't mean it's easy. Oh, I still have hurricanes in my life, but I've learned to find the eye of the storm. I have learned to find that place where there's a God who reminds me that I am loved. So it doesn't matter what you say about me. It doesn't matter about my performance. I am loved. And so we're going to sing a song. And as we sing this, I want you to let this truth sink deep. The reason I want you to put it right here over your heart is because that's where you need it. This is the only thing that will change the world. And so Jesus said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but will have everlasting life.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough.
Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up.
Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low?
Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know.
You say I'm yours.
So, what do you believe? Christmas and what it's all about is a reminder that no matter what you have done, that the God who made you loves you. And maybe you're having a hard time believing that. Maybe this is kind of new to you and you want to believe, but you're not sure. You've bought the negative press that the church is just out for something from you, and we're not. As a matter of fact, we'd love to walk with you on this explorative journey to is it possible? And so in the month of January, we're going to be doing this series called Mastermind. Neuroscience is discovering that actually what you believe changes everything. It changes the value and the quality of your life. And so we're going to explore, what does it mean to change the way you think about yourself and about your circumstance and about God? Because I actually believe it could be a game changer, a life changer for you. Or if you have deeper questions like, are you sure the Bible wasn't just made up by a bunch of guys in a back room somewhere to sell books? Like, how do you know that? And come on, you don't really believe Jesus died and rose again. Actually, yeah, we do. You don't really believe God exists. There's no proof. Hey, we'd love to wrestle with that question, those questions with you. That's what Alpha is all about. So we'd love for you to be a part of this journey. Maybe you don't believe this yet, but we want to believe for you. And we want to build a place where you can belong until you can believe that. And so we're not perfect. We don't have it all together. I'll just throw that out right now. We disappoint. Sometimes we don't meet expectations, but it's not about us. It's about Him. And we're on a journey to being more like Him. And if you're here today and you know this, or maybe you've forgotten it, I want you to just take this home with you and I want you to stick it somewhere. Maybe around your forehead, like write it maybe backwards, so every time you look in the mirror, you're reminded. Put it somewhere. Maybe go and stick it on Grumpy tonight. You know, just whatever you need to do, like to just actually believe this, because there's power. There is power in this. This is the music of heaven. It's what you were designed for. So may you believe this, but also may you express it. You see, as you experience things, they're meant to be expressed. And I believe you can't express what you haven't experienced. So when you experience God's love, then you get the opportunity to express it everywhere you go. So when you go to that really difficult family situation this year, don't just put on a fake smile. As you're driving into that driveway, say, God, help me to love the way you love, because this is going to be really hard. Maybe hug somebody. I mean, you know, gifts are okay, but hugs are way better, right? Right? Technology and trinkets are cool, but they break, but words are powerful. Maybe open your mouth and express your love. Show your love. Because that's the reason of Christmas. It's why Jesus came, so that you could never say, I'm not loved. It's not true, you are. And you could never say, I don't have a purpose. Yes, you do. It's to learn His love so you can love others. This is the peace that this world is longing for. So, on this Christmas Eve, I bless you with the beautiful and powerful truth that Jesus came into this world, our Prince of Peace, to show us who we really are, that we were children of God, and that we are loved. And He showed us that our life had purpose when we live in harmony. For love is the only thing that will change the world. And so may this peace, a peace that is greater than your external circumstances, rule in your mind and in your heart and in your homes. May you experience His peace as you drive on the roads and as you stand in line to get your coffee. May you experience His peace as you share stories with your children and as you discuss difficult topics with those you love the most. May His peace put you to sleep at night in a world of anxious thoughts with the truth that you are loved. With this, I bless you in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Merry Christmas.